One. Hello, everybody. This is Cody with Nostalgic Nebula. Thank you for joining us here today on Saturday, the 18th of July. We're doing a special panel today. We've been doing a couple of watch parties in the past. We did Hellraiser, 13 Ghosts. But we felt that we wanted to do something more social, something that benefits the people more than just our curiosity for film and hearing all of the fun little intricacies about filmmaking. We wanted to get a little more deep with this, so we decided to put together Black horror and up and close personal discussion with Black filmmakers. This is very, very important discussions that have to be had. They may not be comfortable for everybody, but they're conversations that have to be had. And so I'm going to be tossing this over to our moderator. Just also wanted to say a couple of words that let this be in a memory of a true American hero who unfortunately we lost yesterday, Representative John Lewis. He tirelessly fought every day for Black Americans and the disenfranchised. And so keep him in your thoughts. And of course, this whole live stream is in benefit of the NAACP. So please, if you can, go down into the description below. There is a link where you will be able to go to the NAACP and make your contribution today. And now I'll be tossing it over. Go.
Welcome to Nostalgic Nebula Presents Black Horror, an up-close and personal discussion with Black filmmakers. I'm your host, Ivortes from Horror Movies and Beyond. You know about that show about reviewing horror movies for the living to understand the dead. And I am also joined here with Cody Chaves, the creator of Nostalgic Nebula. Hi, Cody.
Hello.
Joining us this evening, we have some extraordinary guests, actors, producers, music artists, writers, directors, who have placed their mark in the horror entertainment. So let me get started to help you introduce them. So we're going to start with Digga, activist, writer, actress. She also starred in Carmen with Beyonce. She also appeared in a feature documentary of Queens of Hip Hop with Salt and Pepper, Erykah Badu, MC Lyte, among others. A former of the Flip Mode Squad, with Busta Rhymes. She's a great actress and rapper. Her music was phenomenal, still is, of course. And also BET Awards and nominations. And she also played Maggie in 13 Ghosts, the lovable Maggie. Hi, Digga.
Hi.
Also, I want to introduce Toy Newkirk, producer, writer, actress, director, production, everything. She is a phenomenal. She has worked on Biography TV show, also produced Morning Star TV show as well, actress, producer. She also was in Different Strokes, 227, A Different World, Living Single, and yes, she was in one of the most popular franchises out there as Sheila at Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4, The Dream Master. Next, we have Keith David, a veteran of horror, veteran of everything. He has a voice like no other. We have recognized him in The Thing, They Live, The Puppet Masters, which is one of my favorites, Pitch Black, Tales from the Hood 2, that I recently seen. It's great. And also his voice has been in voiceovers, movies, video games, an Emmy Award winner, and recently in Horror Noir, A History of Black Horror. Also, we have Ernest Dickerson, director, cinematographer, screenwriter, television, music videos. He's done everything. In his cinematographer works, he collaborated with Spike Lee. You guys remember Do the Right Thing, Jungle Fever, Malcolm X. He also worked alongside Tales from the Dark Side with the late George A. Romero. His directorial debut is Juice, which is fabulous, with Omar Epps and Tupac Shakur. He also directed Tales from the Crypt, Demon Knight, which is, I one of my favorites. I've seen so many times. It's great. He also directed Bones and worked with Snoop Dogg, so that was fun. He worked with Mick Garris, Masters of Horror V, directed that one. Also, did directed several episodes of The Walking Dead on AMC, which was like it's still popular. And also, you could see him on Horror Noir along with Keith, History of Black Horror. So they're here today to talk to us and give us their point of view on Black horror. So let's get started. I want to start off with a generic question here that I think is very important. And this is for all of you guys. So jump in whenever you feel that you need to answer, or any question for anybody. So the first question is, do you think Black horror is having a moment? Meaning, has it changed from we're not looking like crackheads and things like that. We're actually having a suburban life, and terrible things happen. And I think Jordan Peele with Us took us there. That's what I think. But since you guys work in the industry, do you see anything different, or has it changed in your perspective?
We're surviving.
Yeah.
We've always done. That's something we've always done. We've always survived. I think Jordan helped. He every now and then people have to be reminded that Black folks in movies are something that a lot of people do want to see. And that we do travel, to other countries and whatnot. But I think it's helping. We're seeing more and more Black folks acting in horror films. A lot of stuff on Netflix, science fiction and horror. I'm seeing more people of color, having prominent roles. So I just hope we just keep it going. Hope it's not just a moment.
Exactly. I mean, and to jump on that a little bit, and Jordan Peele, God bless him, and I love that he's brought into the genre real life situation, the psychological, the mystical, but hey, everyone can see themselves there. I think for myself, it actually has inspired me to write day-to-day real life in situations of my own. My cousin, for instance, they don't tell her, but all of a sudden we're like, how can we put Black people in these movies? Unfortunately, when I was growing up and when I was in the horror movie, it was known that Black people die first. And so when I received the role, I knew that page 45, I would die. And so how much can I make within 3 scenes, 4 scenes? I hope that element changes with Jordan Peele. I think he said it best recently, that he can never foresee himself doing another movie without it being an entirely Black cast. And for me, that gave me great hope, because instead of the sidekick, I think that we all need to be seen as a leading role moving forward. So I would hope that this opens the door to that.
I think things are just seemingly more realistic now. I think for a while there was just always this stigma of, oh, I don't think it's going to be realistic to see, Black people aren't going to investigate the scary noise, or just things that when you're sitting at home we're not going to trip and fall if Jason is on our heels. But I think now we can actually realistically, see ourselves in these movies and be believable.
Right.
According to Richard Pryor, the film would have ended in the first 3 frames. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Exactly.
But my first movie, I lasted to the end, which was I didn't realize it or make anything of it at the time, but that just wasn't done.
Yeah.
We never make it to the end.
And The Thing was your first, right?
Thing was my first movie.
Wow.
Wow.
It's
So
great.
that was a great experience. And then then I did now in They Live. Surprisingly, I did get to the end, but I did die.
Yeah.
But I think that
Off camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that
For
Gordon's movie is opening up, at least a conversation with and Black Mirror. you know, the way they use Black people in Black Mirror. I mean, I think it's, you know, we have, you know, our lives have always been as interesting as anyone else. We just haven't had a chance to display that. But now that now that they know, and they also know that they can make money with it.
Right.
So, you know.
Yeah. Going back to the thing, when you said you lived all the way to the end, was there any idea that they would continue like with a part 2 or continue with that story at all at the time, or it was just you just lived to the end? And
no, I mean, the way it ended, you know it was set up for a sequel. But at the time that the thing came out, which was 1982, Poltergeist came out around the same week, but E.T. eclipsed everything. E.T. had come out. We opened in July. E.T. opened January, February, something, whatever, like 3 months prior, and it was still #1 through the summer. So we were eclipsed by E.T.
And everybody wanted their aliens cute and cuddly.
Oh, yeah. Also, you know, our special effects were innovative for the time. You know, Rob Bottin, I mean, that whole team, they were, it was phenomenal. But the critics dogged it. I mean, the critics I mean, the reviews couldn't have been worse, you know. And it was like, it was really surprising. I mean, nobody asked me, but I felt that it was a November, October movie. If it would have come out, you know, at Thanksgiving, you know, Thanksgiving break, I think it might have done better. But I guess, you know how these studios do everything. Everybody comes out with the same theme. They've been doing that for years. So, you know, so we came out, you know, wanting to be the summer blockbuster, but it wasn't. Now, you know, although they dogged it for the next 35 years, you know, if you go to any Comic-Con, there's the thing. I mean, it's like,
now it's a classic.
Yeah,
it's a classic.
It truly is a classic. Here's my poster right here. It's actually my favorite movie in the world. So it's a funny story I'll tell later, but why it is. But yeah, I can't believe that it had such a review so horribly, but it's done so well. I think it's one of the remakes done almost perfectly that you don't see very often. And I definitely loved it and loved you in it.
Well, you know, just really quick, something about the horror movies, what I found out by going to different Comic Cons, and right now, I didn't realize Nightmare on Elm Street being on the circuit after 30 years. I just hopped on this, you know, con circuit about 3-4 years ago, and they fly you all over the world, but there's thousands of people that, you know, want to meet you, and it's generational at this point. And so that was something about the horror world that I had no idea I was stepping into, and how much they will love you until it's over, you know. And it's 30 years now. I can only imagine how it's going to be. So I was just, when I booked this role, I didn't want it because I wanted a different world, which I got later, but I was up for another role. So I was like, oh, fine, I'll do this. But it's like seasoned well. And for that reason alone, I'm very happy to have been part of a horror genre. Makes me want to do more work within that genre.
Rod Digga, earlier you said something about about people living, like, you know, some you die in the films and stuff like that. And also Keith said that too. But for 13 Ghosts, you know, how was that experience? Because, like, how did you land that role? Because you were just this hot rapper at the time, and I mean, still hot today, but still a hot rapper, and it was like a jump from, you know, MC to the big screen. How did that come about?
Well, for me, I originally, and I told this story at the last Nostalgic Nebula panel I did. I originally set sail to Hollywood to audition for Baby Boy. And I did not, I thought I had the role for Baby Boy in the bag. I was actually auditioning for Taraji's best friend's role. And I'm thinking like, okay, you know, Ratchet, homegirl from the hood. How hard can that be? Like, I got this in the bag. And I went out to LA and auditioned for that role. I did not get that role. On the way home, I was completely hungover. I had a red-eye flight, and my agent called me at the time and was like, you got time to squeeze in this one last audition? It was 13 goals. I had a pounding migraine. I was like, okay, I'll try. And I get there, like literally the words are moving on the page of the sides. Like I could not get my shit together. And then I said, okay, you know what? I'm gonna just improv this. Can we just wing this reading here? Cause like, yeah, I can't do it. And I got it. The director saw the tape and was like, that is our girl. And I was literally, I had a whole tour scheduled, and I had to just shut it all down. Like within 3 days, I was on a plane to Vancouver, my new home for the next 6 months. So I ended up getting that role, and that was my first time acting anything, coach, drama school, like anything. So I didn't realize the intensity of it, until I got there and got into it. I shared the story of the entire first day of filming. It was the scene where my character and Shannon Elizabeth's character, we just kind of sit back and look worrisome while Matthew Lillard and Tony Shalhoub go through this exchange of whether or not we should all venture into the basement. So that entire day, I didn't have to say a word. And all I had to do was just stand there and look worried. I'm like, great, just 6 more. But, ultimately I did have to, rise to the occasion, and they were, at that point, I'm like, now I'm flying in coaches. I'm like, I'm trying to learn the parts and just like learn the essence of this character, going through it with my coach, and the director's like, cut. No, we need some more of what you were doing in audition. I'm like, oh, really? Okay, fine. I'm stuck in this house with these crazy ass white people that we love it. It was one of those things, man.
And you lived too, which was
I lived. And I was my character was supposed to die. And one day I just approached the director and I just asked him, can I live? And he was like, let me think about it. And he came back a week later. He's like, hey, I discussed it with Joel, and we think that your character is going to be a fan favorite, and it would probably be too much of a sting if something happens to you. So we decided to let you live. I'm like, yes. When I told my agent I did that, he was like, no, you don't do that. No, how dare you? Like, that was like taboo. Like, how dare you ask the director to change the script so you can live? I'm like, hey, you gotta shoot your shot, right?
And it was the best decision ever made.
Yeah. Thank you.
It definitely was. Yeah. So I want to get to our next question here for all of you. What do you think that needs to change in Hollywood for Black actors to get more starring roles? I feel you have to be white enough to get the roles, but Black enough to keep the stereotypes in the whole.
Interesting.
That's an interesting question.
Yeah, I think first of all, they need to be written. When I was younger, I remember I said to my agent at the time, just send me out on anything. I don't care if it says Asian, Mexican, white, Black, just let me go. And half of the work I accrued as guest stars was because of that. And what I said is just allow me to be my Black self and be in anything I choose this to be. Um, it didn't, I don't know how well that will, how that works now. I just think that because of Jordan Peele and even Tyler Perry and all the BT, like we can actually specifically write roles for us. It does not have to be gentrified roles. It does not have to be ghettofied roles. They are just roles of life of all of us. And I think that we are the only race that has to live in a prism that's so shallow and so constructed in this is how you need to be. This demonstrates or demonstrative of what a Black woman is supposed to be. And I just don't like that. I find that we can be so many different walks of life at any given time. Sure, you can be, you know, strong and angry, but it doesn't mean you're an angry Black woman. It means you're passionate and compassionate. And let's find that side of our characters and well-rounded characters and get us deeper into like any other character we see out there. I don't know how it's going to happen or when it's going to happen, but I hope it. Ernest, are you writing it?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
Actually, it is going to take more filmmakers of color out there to do that.
Yeah, and writers.
You know, my second and my third film. My second film was Surviving the Game. My third film was Demon Knight, and in Surviving the Game, the role that went to Ice-T was not written for a person of color. And actually, the studio wanted Charlie Sheen for that role. Yeah, believe it or not. And in the case of Demon Knight, for the role of Geraldine, they wanted blonde actress who had just starred in a movie, The Mask.
Cameron Diaz.
Cameron Diaz.
Yeah, Cameron Diaz. Yeah, so that's who the producers had in mind for that role. And I was determined to put a person of color in there, and luckily I was able to prevail. In the case of Demon Knight, I had just seen Jada in Menace to Society, and loved her work in it, and I wanted Geraldine to be, a little person anyway. I wanted somebody small of stature but really tough. And I had just seen, and I was trying to figure out who am I going to get for this. And then when I saw Menace to Society, I said, that's what I want. And I had to sell her to the producer, but she went in and she met with him, and the producer was Joel Silver, who's a pretty big guy. And she was able to pull it off. But, one of the things I wanted to play on also was the fact that introduced this character, you think she's going to be one of the first persons to die. You don't think that she's going to be the heroine at the end of the story, wind up saving the world, So, and she did a great job. She did a magnificent job. So I think it's up to filmmakers to do that. To even when, because most roles aren't, unless they want specifically a Black person in there, it won't be written in the script.
Right.
Well, I don't know if I would have put it the way you introduced the question, but when I first started out, there were, especially in the commercial world, there were people who said, "Oh, Keith David can't sound Black," and I'm like, what does that mean? Yeah. There are, Black people are as diverse as there are people to represent that they represent. What's lacking is our opportunity to represent that. We only get one or two chances and one or two opportunities, and it's always the same kind of thing. But I mean, I'm sure you've known in your life those people who those Black people who say who out white people, and you have all these things to say about them, but we are as diverse as anybody else, given the shot. Now, yes, you got to give it. We have to be given the shot from the industry at large, but also Black people have to, begin to support each other in ways. We'll go to the big blockbuster movies when it's all sex, drugs, and rock and roll and big crashes. But what about just a good film?
Right.
We've got to be supportive of that as well as the investors putting their money in it. But Hollywood, Jim Brown said this once. I was at a meeting with him, and I agree. Hollywood is not in the movie making business. Hollywood is in the blockbuster business. That's what they go. Yeah, that for the big money. I mean, you have to be sort of independent if you want to make a good film that doesn't have a whole bunch of pyrotechnics and whatever.
The same with the music business.
Mm-hmm.
But we just have to we have to really support each other in our efforts. And you'll get more good stuff if we have the support.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Allow it to be a bucket, a wealth of gems of different personalities.
Mm-hmm. This question is for Ernest. Like I said, I've seen a lot of your films, especially the early ones when you were just when you started out as a cinematographer with Spike Lee. And I've always wondered this, because this question here I'm about to ask, like when you was working with him, Spike Lee, he's very different. He's very into the Black culture. His films give there's a statement: Black togetherness, the struggle, the perseverance. So when you went from cinematography to directing, or other, cinematography works, was it different than what you were? It seemed like he was more of a mentor. Was it different, converting over to the mainstream versus the style of Spike Lee?
Well, we met in film school.
Yeah.
We both went to NYU. We, and one of the things that helped us bond is the fact that he went to Morehouse, I went to Howard, and Howard always kicked Morehouse's ass in the homecoming games, So it started kind of like, button heads like that. But, after that, we started talking about, the movies that we wanted to make, the kinds of movies we wanted to make. And I've always grown up loving genre films. The first movie I ever remember seeing was a horror film called It Came From Beneath the Sea, about a giant octopus that wrecks the Golden Gate Bridge. I remember seeing that when I was, probably around 4 years old. And grew up, growing up in the projects in Newark, New Jersey, when the next horror film came out, everybody ran to see it. We always went to see, great genre films, So I grew up seeing those kinds of movies, seeing the original War of the Worlds, stuff like that. So, I knew that even though I was a cinematography major in college, I was still going to be doing a range of subjects. And actually, the first film that I ever photographed professionally was a science fiction movie called The Brother from Another Planet. So, and that was different than working with Spike, because John Sayles is just a different type of filmmaker. He's more of a writer who became a filmmaker. Spike is a filmmaker who's also writing. So was it different going out into the world? Not really. It's always going out there and being clear about the kind of story you want to tell and how you want to tell it.
That reminds me of a quote that you said in Horror Noir. You said, it was an interview you had with New York Times, sorry, not Horror Noir, but you said, "I love to shoot, but directing is all about telling a story. And there are so many stories out there I want to tell." So what stories would you like to tell? For what different aspects of a genre? Because you love horror. That's one of your favorites that I've read. I hope that's right. So, like, what kind of story do you want the audience to know? What kind of story you want to tell?
Well, actually, my wife and I are collaborating on a couple of scripts. two scripts that we've done that are in the horror genre, that we're trying to get out there. And some of the scripts that I'm reading, I actually was sent a really interesting script that is a Black horror film. That is, the horror that comes from the legacy of slavery. So the stuff that I've written, I don't want to say too much about it, but I like to take put new wine in old bottles, and that's one of the things that I'm doing. I'm looking at some classic horror literature and updating it and setting it today with more people of color in it.
I'm sorry, total sidebar. Ernest, did you say you grew up in Newark, New Jersey?
Yes, I did.
Okay, because I'm from Newark, New Jersey. My mother was born in Dayton Street Projects. I'm from Ivy Hill.
You were in Dayton Street?
My mom born and raised. I was there as a kid, and then my parents relocated to Ivy Hill, the Ivy Hill area by Seton Hall, and been there ever since.
Because I used to live in Seth Boyden Terrace. I used to hang out in Dayton Street Project.
That's my mom's whole stomping ground. She went to Chaves, well, South Side then, but it's Chaves.
Wow, I went to Essex Catholic High. Yeah, so.
Okay. So sorry, guys. Back to
girl.
Good.
Moment.
So, Raw Digga, we're gonna go back to you. You saved the day in 13 Ghosts.
I did.
But what I find was, I watched it again. I watched, all you guys' movies so many times, but I watched that one again, and I realized they don't really celebrate it that you saved the day. It's like, you were in there, you were messing with the machine, and it was like, I thought you were, coming out with a new album. It was like the way it was, and then it exploded, and then it just went on to the family, and and that's it. I thought
Black Twitter celebrates it.
Because I did that. I did put it on Twitter. Let's celebrate Raw Digga for the final girl.
Well, I did have the closing scene. They let me they let me have my way with the outro. They let me cuss the family out. I actually got to give Nork a shout out. And I had the title song and the rolling credits. So it was a nice little ode to Digga at the end. I think what was made unclear though is like, what was the fate of the family after the fact? Like, where did we go from there? And it could have made for a great sequel. Like, where did these ghosts go? Where did the family end up? Did they follow us like Poltergeist, or even a prequel? Like, how did the souls of these ghosts get captured in the first place? I was looking forward to seeing more.
Okay. And I want to go to another question here that I have. My question is, everyday life for Black people is horror to some. And I want to use Tales from the Hood as an example, because in that we see about slavery, police violence, voodoo, domestic violence, gang violence, and things like that. But that's every day, almost every day for quite a bit of Black people out there. And what could have that, when you guys seen the movie, hopefully you guys seen it, like, what do you guys think? Because obviously, I don't know, did you live in that, or did you know people who lived in that, or how did that movie kind of reflect on you when it came out, or your thoughts?
Is this for everybody, or?
Yeah, for everybody.
Oh, okay.
Oh, sorry. I was like, technical difficulties.
Well, I will. I guess I'll go. I personally, I love the movie. It's one of my, it's one of my cult favorites. It's one of those that I can watch over and over again, like Boys in the Hood and Menace and stuff. I think we I think, you know, if you were, you know, if you're connected or born and raised in the inner city, like we all know that Tyrone character, I think that was his name, the, you know, so the guy that needs the redemption, and I thought it was very very interesting, very creative take on, you know, what is flashing through the mind of some of these guys, that, you know, some of these street guys as they're about to transition. Like, are you remorseful? Are you, you know, in that moment, are you wishing you could turn things around, or just that was always a interesting scene for me. And also the slave story, I thought was also another one that I think hit home for me, because I always wonder, you know, I'm a person that does believe in ghosts and in real life, and in spirits, or I don't want to say ghosts, but I am one of those people that believe in energy and things of that nature. Like, we are spirits, we are energy, our bodies vessels. You know, I am one of those people when I get in my zone. So I always wondered, you know, how our, you know, if and how are our ancestors communicating with us, just, and even just looking outside at things going on right now. It's like, is it something, you know, that y'all want to communicate to us? Is it something, you know, is there a message that you're trying to pass on to us? What is it? How do we, you know, how do we receive that? So, you know, if you're a person that you know, eats a couple edibles and thinks outside the box like that, it's, you know, it is food for thought.
Okay.
And you know, some of the best horror comes from everyday realistic situations.
That's right.
And for us, for so many of us, those everyday realistic situations are already filled with horror.
Yeah.
So to be able to examine it, you know, and take it to another level is one of those things that we have. We can take the horror of our experience, that for some people is an everyday type thing, and use it to elevate and make it more real for the audience.
Hey, Keith, I always wanted to ask you this question. Have you ever wanted to direct a movie or TV? Because you have such a presence, and you have such a wide range of education when it comes to acting. I've feel like I'm just waiting for that moment where it's directed by Keith David. Have you ever?
You and me both. I've directed plays, and I've actually been in conversation recently about directing 2 movies. I had one movie that the financing fell through, and then I was in conversation with another movie, and COVID hit. So you know, I'm looking forward to the day. I mean, I would really like to do it. I mean, I had one opportunity that I backed off from because I was feeling a little bit unprepared for, you know, but I have to let that go. I think I have, you know, whatever I lack in practical experience, I can make up for with a great DP and good a good team around me. Plus, I got plenty of guys, go-to guys who I can ask whatever I need to ask. Ain't that right?
You can call me anytime, bro.
I have a question about the movie They Live. That fight scene is one of the most famous fight scenes out there.
The best.
It is the most famous, the best, the everything. Was it improv or was it scripted? Because it seemed like it just went on and went on. And I was scared at the point, where are those glasses?
Put on the damn glasses.
I know.
I know.
I can tell you that whenever you see, in whatever genre, and whenever you see a great fight in a movie, it's very well choreographed.
Right.
Unless you're working with Steven Seagal. But, you know, yeah, we worked on that for We rehearsed for 2 weeks, and we shot it over 3 days.
Really?
And the whole fight was 7 minutes of screen time. But if you remember The Quiet Man, there was a John Wayne movie called The Quiet Man.
In Ireland, the one in Ireland.
The one in Ireland with Victor McLaughlin, and they're the two guys, and they fight throughout the whole town. They have this fight that just goes throughout the whole town. It was based on that fight, and basically, it was because it had a story. The fight had a story. It escalated, and and it's between two friends, and Roddy Piper was phenomenal. He taught me so much about how to sell it, and taught me a couple of moves, if I ever have to use them. But he was fantastic, and that's when the fight scene it's always about selling the hit and selling the punch. You got to get the right angle on get the right angle of the punch, and you don't have to be anywhere near the person with the right angle. It just looks like, as long as the reaction is on time, So we just played. We had we trained enough to be able to play and have fun. And there was only one time that I actually hit him, and that was like the first time we'd been rehearsing. We're about to shoot the scene, I think the next day, and E.T. came by with their cameras at night, and they wanted to see a little piece of the fight. So he said, come on, let's go. And that first punch, I get just too close to him and hit him right in the nose. And he's like, come on, let's do it again. But other than that, I've never felt safer in my life. He was definitely a champion guy.
Yeah, I don't think we get enough credit for doing our own stunts. I tried to be a big badass. When I hit with that book in 13 Ghosts, that mess hurt. Like at first, they wanted to put a stunt double, and I'm like, no, I wanted to look realistic. No, it's okay. She can hit me. She's doing these little love taps. I'm like, come on. And then she whacked me real good. It actually hurt, and I guess my real reaction was like, like, and the director's like, that's it, that's the money shot. I'm like, yeah.
For Ernest, you worked with behind the scenes with the camera a lot. So when you went into the director's chair, did it come naturally? Was it difficult, or like to transition from camera cinematographer to director?
Well, in my career as a cinematographer, a lot of the directors that I worked with also acted in front of the camera. Brother from Another Planet, my first film, John Sayles played one of the alien bounty hunters who was hunting down Joe Morton. When Spike did She's Gotta Have It, in film school, he never acted in any of his films. And what happened with She's Gotta Have It, another actor was supposed to play Mars Blackman, but then at the last minute, that actor got a real movie, a Hollywood movie that he went and did. And so Spike had nobody else to fill in that role. So he took over the role of Mars Blackman. And whenever that happens, it puts the director of photography in the situation of actually being the director and being the director's eyes and letting him know how things are working. So, from that, and then on the school days and everything else, then I also did a film with a Chinese director, Peter Wang, called Laser Man, and he also acted in front of the camera too. So I had a chance to kind of rehearse it a little bit several times before I finally got to do Juice.
Okay. So for Toy, I noticed you have like an extensive background in producing and directing.
Oh.
A lot. So I was curious of why not continue with the acting when to keep going with that.
Yeah, like I started acting when I was 5 years old. So I started in a whole nother world where, with Todd Bridges and Gary Coleman, and we were at Kim Fields, we were just doing our thing, and working quite a bit. And by the time I hit 18, my father also, a sub note, my father's a cameraman. Um, he was never a director of photography, but he was a camera assistant and operator. And he went on to do Color Purple, Batteries Not Included, Empire of the Sun. So I hung out on set with him. So my first love, although I was acting, I love acting. It's what I do. It's fun. Like it's always playtime. But the craft of making a movie or a television show or even down to a commercial always fascinated me. I like the technical side of it. I like the camaraderie of having many different departments come together and sit around that table and talk about what's the look, the feel, the time of day, all of that. And as a Black actress, I never was able to receive that attention from any type of director. So I always knew it existed because I would sit on, my dad brought me everywhere, God bless him. But he would bring me on set and just say, sit there and just be quiet. And I was dutiful because I wanted to learn the craft. And that's what it was a craft that I honored. So as I had my Me Too moment, I was coming in, I screen test for a movie over at Warner Brothers. It was me and 4 other beautiful Black women, and had a one-on-one with the director. And I was pretty much told that what I could do to get the role. And I had worked too hard by then. I was 20 years vested in the business. I was 25 years old. And I was like, how dare you? I've trained for this, let me just be me. And that's when I said, I've got to find something that's never going to ask me to do something untoward. Like I can control my destiny. Now, when I made that move, my dad told me, step down, learn it from the beginning. I was a PA. I was a production coordinator, a production manager. I worked on different music videos, commercials, a band apart at Quentin Tarantino's production company. And I held my head really low and no one knew I really was an actress. And for better or worse, it allowed me to traverse seamlessly to get to where I needed to go. But I didn't realize I was going to stay out of acting so long because now it's been 20 years where I've had a career. I can go and I feel like I can shoot a project. I can direct or write. I can do digital, or there's nothing that I don't feel like I can't do. But again, opportunities I find are to take the next step for me is probably going to be either include to go forward with acting and add that into my repertoire of writing, and which is ironic, has allowed us, at least myself, to refocus what's my natural state of being and where's my peaceful state of being and how can I create from that state. And from that, so many different opportunities are presenting themselves, but it's like being that horse inside the race, inside that gate. You can't get out of it yet, but I'm ready. I'm ready to go. So that's my long way around still wanting to be in the business, the love of the business, and still wanting to be on set, even if they didn't hire me to be on set. I made my way through.
And for you, Digga, you were fantastic in that movie. I was expecting to see so many of you in the future on from that, and I was always curious of why not continue with horror movies or in that way. Like it's something.
Well, I did go on a few auditions, but I definitely had my phase where I caught the acting bug. But hey, I mean, I'll just be brutally transparent. Like I was just getting my ass kicked out there, like
right.
I mean, I think Regina King got me for like 3 roles. Like there was one particular role I went to audition for, Miss Congeniality Part 2, and when I called just to like verify the time and appointment, they're like, "Oh no worries, sweetie, you don't even have to bother showing up."
Oh no!
Already has it. I think the last straw for me was when I actually myself and MC Light we voiced over the pilot for the Boondocks. All, you know, just for Regina King to get not one character, but both characters. At that point, I was just like, okay, you know what? I am taking my ass back to the East Coast. I'm going back to the studio. I'm putting out another album. To hell with Hollywood. But I mean, hey, I'll be honest, like I really did. I mean, I auditioned for Benjamin Button. I lost that to Taraji. I auditioned for the blind character. I think it was the Thing's girlfriend in Fantastic Four. I lost that to Kerry Washington. I said, okay, so you know, this cute little rapper turned actor bit is not like now I'm really like here with the women of Hollywood, and I am not making the cut. So I tried, guys. I really
did. For Keith David, I wanted when I watch you on screen, you command the entire screen. It doesn't matter who's starring with you. As soon as you're present, it's like you're focused on Keith David's character. Is that something that came naturally, or you had to practice for that or work to do that?
That is a question only you can answer. I come in to do my job. If you feel that way, then you feel that way, and I'm happy. Well, but I didn't. You know, that's a result, and I don't come in result oriented. I come in to do what I have to do, and we play. I mean, you know. Right. Okay. I'm glad you think so. I mean, but, you know.
A lot of us think so. I mean, even when in Armageddon, obviously it's not a horror film, but it's one of my favorites. And when you're standing there talking about, you know, these people that, you know, finna go up to the space, and it's like, you're like, I wouldn't even trust one with a potato gun. I mean, you're just like, it's like, and you were with like, you know, Bruce Willis and everything, but you didn't see them when they walked in. It was like, it was the expressions and just your demeanor and just your confidence in your films is just it's fantastic. It really is. But I just have to say, you know, your voice became one of the most iconic, you know. You're Spawn. I played the video games, I watched the cartoons, you're like Spawn. So how did that come about? How did voiceover became such a big thing in your career?
You know, after I got out of school, I mean, one of the things that I wanted to do most was voiceovers, and mostly like I wanted to do cartoons or animated series, but I really wanted to do documentaries because, you know, Ossie Davis, Percy Rodriguez, these were brothers who, you know, James Earl, of course, and Morgan, but Percy Rodriguez especially. Percy Rodriguez was Percy and Glenn Turman, first two Black men to be on a network, a regular on a network TV show. And that was taking place in the 60s.
Wow.
And when Percy speaks, he's like, you know, what is it, the bull or whatever, you know. I mean, you just listen. He played the High Commander in Star Trek. Oh. If you're a Trekkie, he was the High Commander. And when he came in, I mean, the two main Black characters in Star Trek in those days was Percy and William Marshall.
Yeah.
And when you heard them talk, you didn't want to hear nobody else. And and I mean I mean that's commanding, and I wanted to do that. I wanted, you know, I mean, other guys like Bill Conrad. Bill Conrad was canon on TV,
but he came from radio first.
He came from radio, and he was Matt Dillon. He was
right.
I mean, and he was bad. I mean, when you hear that voice, I mean, you just pay attention. And he used to do like Animal Kingdom, and John Forsythe used to do, Myron Myron Perkins, it wasn't, it was like Animal Kingdom because it was a Mutual of Omaha.
Yeah, that's right.
Perkins. Marlon Perkins, right? Yeah, Marlon.
Yeah. Yeah. Mutual of Omaha. And they used to have this wildlife program. I mean, that stuff fascinated me because you hear these wonderful stories being told and you want to hear it and you learn something. I mean, as an actor, I wanted to do that. And then, I will tell you any day of the week, I am living my dream because I wanted to be an actor my whole life. So every day of my life is gravy.
Blessings.
I don't. Do I want to act every day? No, I don't want to act every day. Some days I want to chill out, but the fact that I get to do that's what I get to do. I mean, that's a blessing. If I die tomorrow, I can say, St. Peter, I had a good time.
A good run.
And we're just almost at about that time of the night to round up, but we did have a pretty good audience question. They said all of you are very inspirational. Who inspired you in your craft?
Well, I would say my father, who came from Baltimore as an engineer, only first Black man to graduate from where I believe he went to Morgan, and came out to California with $79 and my mom and brothers, and I wasn't even born yet, and saw a newspaper article that said they were looking for people in the camera department. And from there, he became really an icon within his industry, within his business. And for me to look up to my father as a Black woman, knowing I have a Black father that stayed home and did for us and taught us, he really inspired me to go into the business, although he did not want me to go into this business. So, because he knew how hard it was, especially on us. But that would be the person that inspired me to continue down the path of creativity and the magic of movie making.
Yeah, I think my person that inspired me is my uncle. My dad died when I was 8 years old, so my uncle, kind of became my big brother and my father as well. Uncle Daoud. He was the first person to put a camera in my hand. He was a world traveler, a jazz musician, and jazz was always in my house and still is in my house. And he inspired me, and I think everything I've ever tried to do was to make him proud of me. And he was the person that let me realize that movies were photographed, and gave me my first camera. Helped me buy it anyway. So
wow.
And Digga, what inspired you?
Queen Latifah definitely inspired me in my craft. I mean, she inspired me every step of the way. She was the person that made, being a artist a realistic goal for me, because I thought it was like, I thought television was this imaginary place where you had to be from New York or you had to be from some faraway land. It's like, wait, this girl from Irvington, North New Jersey is on TV. So she inspired me to really follow my dream and my passion as far as music. And then from there, like, she just kept going. And then to see her on the big screen, it was like, oh wow, like I can actually do that being a musician from Newark. So I'm gonna go with Queen Latifah for sure.
Another Newark native. Another Newark native.
Right.
I had the opportunity to work with her, and she is a doll. I love Dana. She is my heart. She's a good lady.
And you, Keith?
Well, I always loved guys like Roy Glenn. He played the father in Guess Who's Coming to Dinner?
Oh, yeah.
Canada Lee, Brock Peters.
Yeah.
Brock Peters. I mean, these guys, to me, they were character actors, but and you just believed them. That's what I wanted to do. When you saw them in a movie, you just believed them. They are who they say they were. And it was like, there was like no acting involved. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, it's like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay. So I guess we're going to wrap it up right now. And thank you guys for coming out here. Thank you so much. And thanks for the viewers that are watching. You can definitely check out Keith David. He's on Greenleaf. I believe is their 6th season right now?
It's our 5th season.
Oh,
5th
fifth season.
last.
Oh. I
Wow.
probably voted wrong. But 5th season, and you could check him out. It's on OWN, the Oprah Winfrey Network, starring as Bishop James Greenleaf, American television drama, and also with director Ernest Dickerson. He has is it in the works? Or you as documentary, The Horror Crowd? Is that already out?
The Horror Crowd?
Yeah, it said that you had something Horror Crowd. Maybe not.
No.
No. Okay. We have Bosch. That's that currently going on right now.
Yeah, I did episodes 8 and 10 of the last season.
Okay.
There's interrogation on CBS.
Yeah, okay, and Digga, you have a YouTube. I can't say the first name, but you can.
You're Not a Mean Guycast. It's a podcast that I am the co-host with Lord Jamar from Brand Nubian. Very it's a very polarizing show. He is a conscious brother that pulls no punches. If you think the interview with Nick Cannon was controversial, that was like a walk in the park compared to what I'm contending with my host. But you know, he's a great guy, and we cover a lot of ground. So you know what I mean? Godcast on YouTube, and also, you know, Digga, I still make music. You know, I'm not out here twerking. My knees are bad now, but I definitely, you know, I still make music. RodDiggaMusic.com is my website. Digga Music on YouTube. You can definitely hear some what do you call it? Would you say new wine and old bottles? I would describe my music.
I love it.
I had a great line in a play once, and the character said, "Old wine thrives best within a new bottle."
There you go.
Okay. And Toy, are you appearing in a documentary, the Fred Heads documentary?
Oh gosh, I yeah, they interviewed me. That's interesting. Yeah, that should be coming out, I think. I don't know. But I am working on a YouTube show with the Final Girls from the Nightmare series. And that's 1, 2, and 3 with Mark Patton, Heather Langenkamp, and Lisa Wilcox. And we actually just kind of are rolling with that, and maybe should be dropping that within the next couple of weeks. Outside of that, I'm writing and preparing for COVID to be over.
Yes, I think we're all.
Yeah, yeah.
So thanks again, and I'm the host, Ivortes Littles, and also with Cody Chaves there.
Yes, thank you, Ivortes. Once again, thank you everybody for tuning in. This is Cody with Nostalgic Nebula over here at the Frida Cinema. This live stream has been in benefit of the NAACP, so please, if you can, go down into the description below. You'll find a link that you'll be able to donate to the NAACP. These are the conversations that have to be heard. They're not exactly the same kind of live event that we've been doing, but if you want to check us out, keep up to date with us, click the bell icon and subscribe to Nostalgic Nebula. You'll be able to watch Raw talk about 13 Ghosts on our 13 Ghosts panel. And August 1st, we'll be doing Killer Clowns from Outer Space with composer John Massari, actors Grant Kramer, Susan Snyder, and Charles and Stephen Chiodo. So tune in again on August 1st. Thank you, everyone on our panel, for being here. Go ahead and stay on the Zoom call, and we'll say our goodbyes afterwards. Good night, everybody. Have a safe weekend.